alert is actually, there's two types of fraud alerts. A fraud alert is something that you can do yourself for free. You do it by calling the credit bureaus and placing a fraud alert. You provide them your social security number. Don't worry about it, it's secure. And upon providing that social security number, they will put a fraud alert on your credit for 90 days. Now, after 90 days, that fraud alert expires. Then you got to do it again for another 90 days. And then after it expires, you got to do it again. So your fraud alert is actually a really good thing. And what it does is that it requires anybody who is going to open up new accounts under your name to call you prior to that account being opened. So if anybody wants to open up a credit card under your name, including you, or get a loan under your name, including you, you personally have to be called in order for that account to be enacted. That's what a fraud alert does, but it only lasts for 90 days. However, there are new services out there in the market. This one right here is 1U at 1U.com, and what they do is they put a fraud alert on your credit for you, and they keep it going beyond that 90 days. They redo it every 90 days from that point on. You don't have to worry about it. They have a $1 million service guarantee. In the event your identity is stolen, they basically take care of it for you. They watch your back. They do all the restoration part of it. Remember that 175 to 600 hours I was talking about in restoration to restore an identity? They do all that for you. Nowadays, with identity theft being the problem that it has become, and you see that what it has become, you're crazy not to invest in some type of a technology in this day and age that's not going to watch your back and protect your identity. Because the days of not worrying about identity theft are over. Now we have to worry about it. So now what's happening is entrepreneurs are coming up with solutions to the problem. Because government isn't doing enough about it at this point. Because the system of identification isn't going to change drastically anytime soon. There's something called the Real ID Act that's coming into play, which is going to beef up the form of identification we have now, but it's not going to solve the problem. Services like this that provide you with a continuous fraud alert along with a $1 million service guarantee and essentially wrapping a security system around your identity will definitely help to protect you and basically it be a no-brainer for you. You don't have to think about it anymore. So this is an investment that I would recommend that you all make. So, and this is, for $10 a month or $100 a year, that's you wouldn't think about driving a car without car insurance or having kids and not have life insurance or a home without home insurance. I mean, nowadays, this is something you have to do. And also, your mail. Get a locking mailbox. What comes in the mail is often the path of least resistance for identity thieves. So a locking mailbox is really a necessity nowadays. What that means is the postal carrier can put the mail in, but only you can get it out with the key. Also, place mail in a secure outgoing mailbox. So if you're putting your mail in your mailbox with the red flag up, that's a red flag to identity thieves saying, come and get it. Not such a good idea. Call the post office if you go more than a few days without mail. That could mean that somebody's stealing your mail or somebody changed your mailing address. Also, pay attention to the delivery dates of all bills. Get removed from the Direct Marketing Association lists, and there's a way to do that in the back of the handout. Paper. Managing the paper in our lives can be a nightmare. Shred all throwaway documents. I talked about that a little bit a while ago. Ask all public and private entities about what their policies are for disposal. Opt out of and destroy all pre-approved credit card applications. Do not just throw those in the trash. An identity thief can just pull them out, fill them in, send them in, and they get a real credit card delivered to a different address. They sign your name, plug your social in there. They get a credit card under your name. Don't let that happen to you. And then, as far as opting out of pre-approved credit card offers, for those of you who may be watching on television, it's 1-888-5-OPT-OUT. That's O-P-T-O-U-T, 1-888-5-OPT-OUT. You will have to give your social security number. It is secure. It's better to do that and get removed from the majority of those pre-approved credit card offers. Also, reconcile bills and statements diligently and timely. Secure all receipts, legal documents, account numbers, tax documents, and canceled checks. When I say secure them, In your own homes, you should have locking filing cabinets. They shouldn't just be sitting in a desk. You should have locking filing cabinets nowadays. Burglars, what are they going to steal, a DVD player? What's that worth? 20 bucks? They're looking for your information. Lock it up. Also, unlist your name and number from the phone book. I'm a big believer in trying to be as anonymous as you possibly can. And that means unlisting your information from the phone book. Also, eliminating paper statements. Those of you who get a lot of mail, utilities, and that's all of us, credit card statements, bank account statements, all of these different entities that we use, all these different vendors, they ask you if you want to go paperless. Those of you who are inclined to do so, I would recommend going paperless. It's good for the environment, and the less paper in your life, the more time you're going to have in your hands. And the less paper in your life, that's the less stuff you have to file that eventually would have to be shredded anyways before you throw it away. By digitizing everything, you can store it electronically. As long as you're backing all this stuff up properly, then digital life is better than a paper life. And again, as long as you're backing up properly and you're organized properly, I would recommend turning off all the paper. More paper, then more stuff in the trash, more paper in the mail, people can steal it, and so forth. Turn off the paper. Banking. I'm actually a big believer in banking online. Traditional banking, while it's been effective for quite some time, there are too many people in the process of traditional banking. It's the people in the process that are the problem. It's the people and the paper in the process that are the problem. So the less people, the less paper in the process, the better off, the more secure you're going to be. If you're inclined to do so, banking online is a really good thing. Saves time, saves money, saves trees, and it's more secure. Also, using automatic bill payment, automatic payroll deposit, using things like Quicken and Microsoft Money help you manage. Have bank ordered checks delivered to the bank, not to your home, because if they get stolen out of your mailbox, it's a problem. Also, be aware of people looking over your shoulder at an ATM shoulder surfing. Whenever you're at a debit card machine or a point of purchase where you're swiping your card, just cover up that PIN code. You don't want anybody to see that. And credit cards. Check your statements every single month, every 30 days. Check your statements.
Credit freeze lasts.
Credit freeze lasts for the rest of your life. Credit freeze is fantastic if you're in the home you're going to be in, if you're in the car you're going to be in, if you're not going to be refinancing anytime soon, if you're all set with the credit cards you have. Credit freeze is a great thing. If you're not doing anything financially, you're not moving any money around, this, that, the other thing, if you don't need credit, freeze it. If you need fluid credit, if you're buying, selling, whatever the case may be, you need to check credit, you're in your, whatever the case may be, you're going to school, student loans, new cars, whatever, then fraud alerts are the best thing. But fraud alerts where a service will do it for you every 90 days. And just regardless, you want to have a service that watches your back. OneU.com is a fantastic service. Any other questions? Yes?
What about the national ID card you hear talk about? Is that
the national ID card that I'm referring to is something called the Real ID Act. The Real ID Act is legislation that was passed in 2005 that basically adds multiple layers of security to our existing form of identification. It is a good thing. Many people fight it, saying it's a violation of our privacy. Nothing could be further from the truth. While there may be a national database that brings us all together, there already are dozens of national databases that bring us all together, and they're held by private companies and by publicly traded companies. So the information is already out there. The information is already being bought and sold. The ID that I'm talking about will incorporate numerous layers of protection. It's the most effective form of identification to date that has yet to be implemented in the state of Massachusetts. I think we have till the end of 2013 to comply. And for those of you over the age of 50, I believe, it's by the age of 2018 you'll have to comply. So it's still a ways away until all of us will have the Real ID as a result of the Real ID Act. It's a good thing. And you should understand and study up on it because it's going to affect every one of you. Yes?
I've heard lately a little bit about children's identity.
Children identity theft is one of the easiest crimes to commit. You know why? Because they have virgin credit. they have social security numbers. And anyone at any time can take that child's social security number and they can pose as that child who's 2 and lie on that application and say they're 22. And there's no cross-referencing that information with the Social Security Administration. The credit bureaus take that lie at face value and they provide that identity thief with that new credit card. And it becomes of record that that 2-year-old is now 22. How stupid is that system? But that's the system we function under. More questions? Yes?
What about overseas? What about other companies that have our information overseas?
Companies that have your information overseas, I would not worry about what they're doing with your information overseas. It's what they're doing with your information here that affects your quality of life here. And by getting either a credit freeze or a fraud alert or investing in a company that watches your back, then you don't have to worry about what they're doing overseas so much. You follow? It's the American companies that you do business with that you have the concerns with financially that are granting you credit. It's government agencies in the United States that you need to... Are you talking about call centers?
No, you know when you call credit cards, all of a sudden now it's, you're not calling here.
You're talking about a call center. You're talking about a call center. Whenever you call call centers, they have certain security in place. They have certain systems in place. They're monitoring their employees. Doesn't mean that they're 100% secure either. And they're going to continue to outsource. They're outsourcing to Brazil and to Mexico and to China and India and wherever. And as long as they're going to outsource, and that's the cheapest form of labor, that's going to continue to happen. Again, your concern is protecting the information that is you. And what is you? It's your name and it's your social security number. And the best way to protect that is by doing what? Investing in either credit freezes or fraud alerts. And that's really ultimately what your main concern is. If you want to protect